What's happening? What's happening? I'm GB. That's Brian. This is Coop. We are your hosts and your boys from Sports Counterpoints podcast. Today is July the 18th, 2023. What's going on, fellas? How y'all living?
Doing all right. Trying to stay cool.
Yeah.
It's warm. Yeah, I'm out in Sac. It's been 100. You know what I mean? Today was a low 90, so it was pretty nice. Little breeze outside. You know what I mean? So. Let's see what we got, man. We got today talking about the running backs and their contracts running away from them, which is crazy. We'll talk about NFL camp starting up. So just basically any football talk you guys want. DHop signing with the Titans. The Open is going to be playing this week in golf. You know, a major, one of a very important tournament, always fun. And then a little bit of soccer and also the WNBA Allstar game. So starting with the running backs, man. I said it, I might have said it last year that didn't think Josh Jacobs was going to get a contract with us. I love Josh, but I just see how the game's being played right now. He doesn't. Saquon Barkley doesn't. Joe Mixon actually takes a pay cut or gets rid of some of his non-guaranteed money, like $9 million to stay with his team and try and win the Super Bowl. Dalvin Cook still not signed. It's just not big money in there for the running backs, man. What y'all thinking about all this?
Why pay them? So much, sports now is being run, you guys know, by stats and analytics. You know, I'm not saying football is totally being run by analytics, but the analytics say whenever you pay a running back big money on a second contract, it just doesn't work out well. And it's the state of NFL because wide receivers are now making more money than they've ever made before. I really don't feel sorry for running backs because, there's other positions that haven't been paid for years, like safety or offensive linemen. Offensive linemen, like especially a left tackle, is very, very important no matter who you got at running back. So the outrage, I think, is just overblown because now, wide receivers didn't want to go over the middle. Now they do because, you can't really touch them or hit them too hard or in the head or whatever. So the game has changed. And unfortunately, running backs, they suffer. But we all know when industries change, it's like Amazon, I don't know anybody that really goes to malls anymore. Everybody just goes to Amazon. I don't know anybody that takes cabs. They take Uber. So it's just the evolution of the game. Unfortunately, it sucks for them. The highest paid, but the thing about Saquon Barkley, though, I really don't feel too sorry for him because he's the third highest paid running back in football right now. He's made the third most money. The only running backs that's made more is McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, and they should because those guys are beasts. But just like people don't use travel agents too much anymore. There's no power forwards or centers, true power forwards and centers in the game now. It just changed, it's just evolution of the game, and running backs are suffering for it. And plus, like I said, you pay like Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, you play these guys, these big money on these second contracts. It didn't work out for them, and you don't want to be trapped in NFL on a running back contract. So that's just how I feel about it. B, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I see it pretty differently, actually. I think it's actually pretty sad. I don't think it has anything to do with the big money that they get in their second deals. I think the reality of it is that there's a lot of players that come in through college who can perform immediately. And so I don't think it has anything to do with the veteran players performing poorly. I think it has more to do with there's just more talent coming up and they're able to play those positions faster. Certain positions, when you come into the league, we all know quarterback is a tough one, but there's certain positions that it takes a little while to get to the point where you can actually be a real threat in the NFL game. And that's not the running back position. But reading the defense and picking up blocks isn't as hard for a running back as it is some of the other positions. But I still think it's not really. I think it's really sad. I think it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this point. So you mentioned that safeties have always been one of those teams, one of those players that are underpaid, and I completely agree with you. But they average $2.2 million at the position. Cornerbacks are averaging just under $2 million. Secondaries as a whole, $2 million. Tight ends are at $2 million. Running backs are at $1.7 million. That's less than kickers. That's less than almost every single position that's not a punter, not a kicker, a punter, a long snapper, a special teams player only, and that's it. That's the entire list of people who make less than a running back, which is a position that actually, regardless of how the NFL works right now, is still an impact position The Josh Jacobs of Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook. I totally get it. We talked about this, about what Dalvin Cook was going to happen with Dalvin Cook. And I said, I totally understand why the Vikings are going to look to cut him and bring in Madison, because Madison has played just as well. He costs a lot less money. And that's the way things work. But it still doesn't mean that I can't view it as unfortunate that we're in an NFL that doesn't respect the running back. And if you look at the history of the game, the running back used to be, kind of one of the more important offensive players. And that's all gone, right? You said it, I said it. The way the NBA, the NFL goes is just a different direction. But it's still unfortunate. I don't think there's anything that can be done other than I do think that the next time there's a collective bargaining agreement, all players need to make sure that guaranteed money is guaranteed money. They need to get their deals structured in a way where the teams can't cut them when they start making real money. You can't do that in the NBA. You can't do that in baseball. You can't do that in almost any sport in the world. But you can do it in the NFL, and that's a real problem, because here's how it works. The teams recognize that they're going to only play these players for a couple of years, and so they are more than willing to give them a contract that looks great, knowing full well that Dalvin, Ezekiel Elliott, all these other guys, there's no way they're going to see the tail end of that contract. And you and I always talk about that on the podcast. Like, there's just no chance that they're going to get to
the guarantees, because everything else is.
Yeah, and their guarantees for almost every position and player other than the quarterback, the only thing guaranteed is that you wrote it in ink, and invisible ink, if you really want to ask about it. It goes away pretty quickly. So, it is unfortunate. I do think that it's wrong, but I think it's endemic in how the collective bargaining agreement is set up. I do not feel bad for the teams. I think that they're using an advantage that they have, and I think that advantage needs to be closed up. And hopefully the rest of these players recognize that it could easily be them. It could very easily turn the tide, and the way that they do it, it's the defensive line isn't as important, because you need secondary players, and these are defensive lines and which are amongst the highest right now, and edge players, which are amongst the highest right now, could very easily be give way to secondary or linebacker positions and things of that nature.
You said defensive line. You said the linebackers and safeties can cover for the defensive line.
Well, I'm just saying, if the NFL can change, and it has changed, and that's what's made the running back irrelevant. Okay. If the same thing could happen on the defense, I'm not saying it has, but it could happen, and you could get a place where they're going to start paying corners and secondary and certain linebacker positions far more than the defensive line. Now, right now, it's line heavy, right? The line are amongst the highest paid, but things can change. And so all these defensive players, all these offensive players not named quarterback, need to rally around their running back colleagues and say, when we do the collective bargaining agreement, we're going to do it with full understanding that these things can change and I can be next on the devalued role.
So here's where I push back at. And the only reason I'm pushing back is, let's just say quarterback position. I mean, of course, you got outliers like Tom Brady, but usually the best quarterbacks are drafted within the first 3 rounds of NFL draft. That's where over 85% of your Hall of Fame is, those first 3 rounds. But, and you think about undrafted running quarterbacks that were good. To the top of my head, I can only name 2. That's Kurt Warner and Tony Romo. Those are only good undrafted quarterbacks I can think of in my mind. Maybe there's another one, but I can't think of them. With
Russell
running
Wilson.
back, no, Russell Wilson was 3rd round. He wasn't undrafted. He was 3rd round.
Right. I thought he was after. He was 3rd rounder?
He was 3rd rounder, yeah. He's 3rd round.
Still deep, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's in the first 3 rounds. So with running backs, I can just name, just off the top of my head, Terrell Davis, 6th round, Alfred Morris.
But those guys are
Aaron
drafted.
Foster.
But wait a minute. But if you do it in that method, it becomes arbitrary, because you don't draft running backs early because you don't intend to value them late, whereas quarterbacks, they do. So they don't really, it's the chicken or the egg. Are they not drafted late because they don't have, or are they drafted later because they don't have the same value? Or are they drafted later because they know that they can get a better deal on them later and they still get the same amount of talent?
Well, see, to me, in my mind, in my mind, running backs, that's why they're sort of devalued, because you can get somebody in the 5th or 6th round that can give you 85% of the production that some guy that's commanding a big money is. Whereas quarterback, you can't do that. You just can't get anybody in 6th, 7th round in the quarterback and think you're going to, be successful. It just doesn't happen that way. So that's the only pushback I
disagree
have
with that. I think if the entire league made a decision that we're no longer going to draft quarterbacks at in the top of the top round, everyone just said we're going to draft them late. Bijan, what's gone on with running backs, except for Bijan Robinson, right? It's colluding. I mean, all they have to do is make a decision that this is where we're going to value them, and that's where they're going to be valued, whether they're good or they're great or whatever, right? So using Dalvin Cook, because I know him well, Dalvin Cook was a very valuable part of the Vikings organization, the Vikings team. But because the entire industry has decided that running backs don't have that value collectively and at the same time, he does not have that value. It can do the same thing for any position, for any reason. I mean, quarterbacks have always been heavily valued, even when they weren't the most important person on the team, right? When you had Bradshaw and some of these other guys who, Joe Namath, who really weren't that great. Yeah. But they are the guy that touches the ball every single time. Let's go back to Miami Dolphins when they started running, the wishbone or whatever they called it then. Yeah. The Wildcat.
The popcorn? Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the Wildcat. Yeah. It could have very well, if that had taken on and the league went that way, which it started to try, but it didn't really take, you would have a situation where people were like, I got to get myself the best running backs early and the quarterbacks didn't. Things can change. And I just think that I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that the league needs to understand that those changes can have their futures dictated to them by a trend, and they need to get together on that collective bargaining agreement and make sure that they protect themselves.
I think the players know, like, obviously, as I've been reading, they're seeing the same things we're seeing. I've seen pretty much every running back came out when Josh and Saquon didn't get a deal. Najee Harris said something, McCaffrey said something, Henry said something, Taylor said something, all basically like.
But Mahomes didn't.
No, that's right.
I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't think it's going to matter.
It's not a dig at Mahomes.
No, it's
for him and his $450 million. There's a lot of running backs who could eat off of that.
No, you're right. And their running back, to Coop's point, is a rookie out of Rutgers. They won a Super Bowl with, minimal production because you have Mahomes. Everybody doesn't have Mahomes. Yeah. Like for my team, Jacobs was a huge percent of the offense last year, but I don't know. Well, I know that's not necessarily how they envision their offense anyway. So it's not like the Patriots have ever just been a run-heavy team. So you had to use what you had. Jacobs kept you in a bunch of games, won a bunch of games, was best running back in the league, but that's not how you envision your team. And to Coop's point, I can just draft more guys. I can run 3 or 4 guys who can get me, if I can get 3 guys who can get 300 yards each and 2 touchdowns, it's not a ton of production for a rookie running back, but also it's, at the right time, whatever, it's these other running backs. It's just tough because they've been so important.
And it's a salary cap league too. You just can't spend that much money on the running back position. It just doesn't work out for teams that do that. It just doesn't.
Right. But if the collective bargaining agreement works out and everybody else says, hold up, there's way too much of this pie that goes to the one position for quarterback, and we're going to change the collective bargaining agreement so that it becomes, it's always going to have some lopside to it, right? But it becomes a little bit more equitable on the other parts of the position. And they say, as part of the cap, there's a certain portion, you cannot go above a certain portion of it for any one player or any one position, whatever it is. Those are things that have been done in other sports that could make it there. And like I said, I this is a trend. Trends can change. Yeah. But the NFL and its players, all of its players, except for Mahomes and the 5 guys with him that are making $200 million.
Right now.
They're all victims of a league that has a horrible collective bargaining agreement with their owners.
Definitely.
Well, they have the weakest players union too. But the thing is, though, the reason why the Mahomes thing is never going to be a good example, because they got rid of Kareem Hunt, got rid of the first round draft pick, Clyde Hilaire, or want to get rid of him.
Got rid of
and they
Tyreek Hill.
replaced him, Tyreek Hill, replaced him with, Juju and the guy from the Giants, and got the running back 7th round, Isaiah Pacheco, and still won the Super Bowl. And Jerick McKinnon, he helped up too, still won the Super Bowl. So
in fairness, his deal kicks in this year, didn't kick in last year. So $45 million.
But
this year is a better test of whether or not they're going to be able to live
that I don't know. Life. Well, I get that, but winning the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill is kind of impressive, though. But that guy is good.
What B said is real too. Like I didn't see, no, I didn't look at the whole internet, read every player's tweets, but I did the ones that I saw retweeted and starred were other running backs. To his point, I didn't see no other players from other positions.
Right. Well, of course, because because everybody was happy that Kirk Cousins got a fully guaranteed deal if you're a quarterback, because then you could try to get that kind of money too. So running backs they always want to Sean Watson, but you always want to see your position get paid because you can use that as a negotiating tool. You know what I mean? So of course.
And I also honestly think other positions, when it happened for Kirk Cousins, I think other positions thought that it was going to happen for them too, or could happen for them too. And then that reality check came in, and it didn't really happen for anyone else other than the quarterback.
Fully guaranteed, yes, but a lot of quarterbacks are overpaid, and because of Kirk Cousins' contract, though,
most of them are.
Yeah,
and then a lot of
when
guys.
Kirk Cousins got his full deal, I think there was wide receivers. I think Devontae Adams. I think of some of these other guys who, at the same time, were looking at their deal. I think of Deebo Samuel, who also
got his money. AJ Brown got his money,
but he didn't get he thought could get a fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen, and so when everyone was cheering Kirk Cousins, I think everyone was cheering Kirk Cousins because they didn't know where it was going to go. And they thought it could be them.
Right.
Well, now we all know it can't be them.
Right. That plays into your point too. Be about it can shift with the trend and what the GM decide. And
you never know who's next.
Yeah. You don't know. And it's true with everything, right? The franchise tag interests me too. Go ahead, Coop. See what you're gonna say.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying everybody's gonna be pulling for Justin Jefferson to be the highest paid wide receiver because the next wide receiver comes up. Yeah, right. And when wide receiver comes up, dry that. They might not have the same production as Justin Jefferson, but they can still get a bump up in salary, maybe just under him.
And then if you get under him, you're still making.
You're still good, right?
Yeah,
right.
The franchise
the highest paid guys are not necessarily the guys who are the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's timing.
I mean, right now, with running backs, you got Derrick Henry at $16 million coming up this season. You got Nick Chubb at just $15 million.
So far, valid.
3 people on the franchise tags, and Pollard, Barkley, and Jacobs at 10. Didn't sign, obviously.
I thought McCaffrey's at 16 too.
He restructured his deal.
His deal's different. This is this year's cap hit, 2023 only. But then it drops all the way to Connor at 10 and Mixon, and there's a lot of it falls quickly.
Yeah. And Mixon's going to be a casualty.
Bijan Robinson, a rookie, is the 13th highest paid running back
because he was drafted
so
high.
Because he got drafted so high.
Right.
And he's on a guaranteed deal for $4 million.
Saquon made
in his first year.
Right. Saquon made he was the number 2 pick in the draft. He made $38 million guaranteed.
He got breaded,
Yeah, so I don't really feel sorry for him because he kind of got a guy that got drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I can understand him getting paid, but Saquon got his money. So
I mean, but as a player though, like Saquon also balled the hell out. Typically, other players that do that in other positions get paid some kind of way.
Season.
Well, still the franchise. Yeah. Well, there's his rookie year too because he was going nuts, but then he got hurt. But and that's everybody's concern. But the franchise tag has been interesting to me too because it's kind of like. For me, I'm thinking if the Raiders would have picked up his option, they'd have got him for less money. He'd be under contract right now. You can still negotiate. They didn't. So technically they say, look, we'll pay you more, but it's either way, it's a 1-year deal. But now with the franchise tag, he's kind of in that rock and hard place. Like he can sign it and get paid, or he can not play, and that's it.
But I don't think the franchise tag for a running back is bad. That's $10 million guaranteed. That's guaranteed money.
Well, it's not bad because they've been devalued.
Right, exactly, right.
So I agree with you. If I understood the state of the market, I would absolutely sign for that $10 million.
Right.
Not right now.
If I had illusions of making top money when you see, here are the 5 top wide receivers. Amari Cooper, $24 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Mike Evans, $24 million. Cooper makes a little bit more than Evans. DJ Moore, $20 million.
Yep.
Cortland Sutton, $18 million.
Denver, wow.
Cooper Kupp, $17 million. Deontay Johnson, $16 million.
Deontay Johnson for Pittsburgh makes that much? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Stephon then drops to Stephon Diggs at $15 million.
Damn.
If you're Pollard, a top running back, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs, you are damn sure trying to figure out why you're going to make 10. And there's no argument. I don't think anyone would argue that Deontay Johnson is more valuable to a football team than any one of those three running backs.
Yeah,
it's a wide receiver and quarterback's game for sure. But that's why those players are kind of like, hey, that $10 million don't feel the same way.
Hey, real talk though, tight ends have been getting paid too, though. Tight ends have been getting paid too. Tight ends, they've been getting paid too.
Blocking
the top, at the very, very, very top.
Right, top, right?
Yeah, at the very, very top, right? So they're
you got Kelsey.
It falls off real quick after
Kelsey and Kittle, right, and a couple other people. It's like
you got Kittle. Well, yeah, you're thinking Kelsey and Kittle. Kelsey is number 3, and he's at 15 mil. Mm-hmm. Kittle's at 18. Right. Hunter Henry's at 15.5.
Hunter Henry for Atlanta. Atlanta signed up for that money.
It's
now
timing,
tell me if you're Saquon Barkley getting 10, you're not a little bitter about Hunter Henry getting 15.
Oh damn. That's why Atlanta,
timing, like Coop said, though, you sign at the right time. You have a good year. You're the value for your position.
And he's with a bad franchise. He's with the Falcons, so they ain't doing nothing. So damn, that's crazy.
No, Hunter Henry's at New England now.
Oh, New England. Oh, okay. Well,
that's now.
Kyle Pitts is still making $9 million. So again, that $10 million for being a top running back, feels real crappy right now. And that's not, like I said, it's not to disagree or to slight or anything.
Right.
It's just a matter of like saying there's a reason and a rationale, because when you see Hunter Henry and Deontay Johnson making both of them making $15 million a year, that $10 million for being a top 5 running back and getting a franchise tag, or whatever is a big pill to swallow.
So here's my prediction. I think Pollard signs his franchise tag, and I think he did. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think Saquon Barkley's going to get a deal, because you just can't have Daniel Jones, a quarterback. That's it. You're going to be a very bad team.
They can't negotiate anymore.
Oh, they can.
He's going to sign.
So he has to sign the franchise tag then,
or not play.
Okay, because I know they offered him a deal, but he didn't like it. Okay, so he's going to sign his tag. I believe that. If I had to predict Josh Jacobs, I don't think bottoming out without Josh. I don't think Josh Jacobs will get a long-term deal. He would have to sign.
I think he'll sign. I think all 3 of those guys.
He would have to sign. Yeah, I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get a deal.
Yeah, I think they sign right before the season starts. You don't go to camp and all that. You sign right before the season, and you play, and you play well, but you make sure you don't get hurt is what you do. And they're not just running me on third. I saw this guy, I don't remember who it was, but it was real. Like, I'm not your workhorse third down back. Like, I'm gonna be thinking about it on some real talk. So when you have to hit that whole 16, 17, when you have Derrick Henry numbers on carries, and Derrick Henry's making 16 million, and you just got 10, every once in a while you're just like, nah, bro, you better audible. I'm not trying to get 25 carries a game, at 10 million. That's why the franchise tag is interesting to me, because you're technically on a contract year. Yes, your money's guaranteed, but you need to play well and also be a good locker room guy for your next potential deal, but also not get hurt and also protect yourself. It's kind of like, it's basically all stacked for the owners.
Well, but the thing is, though,
exactly, because how do you? How do you acknowledge that a player is the franchise player? That's what they're saying. Yeah. When you say somebody, you put the franchise tag, you're saying they're the franchise player, not the quarterback, you're saying they're extraordinarily important. We can't let them go. Right. So we're going to pay them we're going to pay them a top dollar. The top dollar is kind of obviously set by the market.
Sure.
But you're saying to the team, like the world, that this is one of the most important players on our team. By the way, we're going to give them Skittles. we're gonna pay him, and we're gonna pay him in Skittles and
we want it for 1 year.
Yeah, we got the whole 1 year. We'll pay you for 1 year.
But I guess here's the downfall about that, though. You don't want a pissed off running back. You know what I'm saying? Because he might not perform up to expectations. But at the same time, though, you have to think about the running back. You might get franchise tagged again the following year, because you could get franchise 2 straight. So you can get another guaranteed 1 year deal, which doesn't sound like a bad idea. But to Brian's point, if you see these other players getting money and you think that you're worth a long-term deal, I guess it depends on the mindset.
It's hard to see very average. I think Deontay Johnson's a fine wide receiver. He's not bad.
Right.
But is he a top 6, 7 player in the league?
Right.
No, but he's making top 6, 7 player money.
Oh, wait till y'all see Devontae's cap hit next year. I think it's like 40 million or something insane. Like
his cap is huge, next year.
Yeah, it goes up. It goes up pretty significantly.
Which is also affecting Josh's contract, truthfully.
Yeah, you can. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Devontae's contract though really is only a 3-year deal. So after 3 years, you can actually get out that deal. But still, I think Devontae's more important than Josh Jacobs. To be perfectly honest with you.
Sure, but he'll get cut and re-signed.
Yeah. You're paying 50 mil to do it, but what
But one thing I was going to say before we move on from running backs, you look at the deal that Dalvin has, and I was reading about this and having a conversation with a friend. He's got a $2 million guarantee, right? So the Vikings have to pay him $2 million if he does not get signed. But if he does sign, they get out of whatever money they're supposed to sign him for. And so their gamble in this case was someone will pay him at least $2 million to play.
Yeah. The
gamble backfires a little bit if he decides that if I'm only going to get 3, I would rather take 2 and not play than make 3 and go out there and get injured and hurt myself and wait for the market to change, because one of these big running backs will get hurt this
year. Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate reality for the NFL, but one of these big running backs will get hurt this year. And it could be, it
could be Lamar Jackson. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. It could be J.K. Dobbs or somebody. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but his value goes up, so he gets his $2 million, and then gets whatever the prorated amount is, and I would imagine they'll have to sign him into a multi-year deal. So it's just going to be interesting. I read somewhere that Cook has a standing offer to go back to the Vikings for $7 million a year, but he didn't want it. He wanted over the 10. I don't know if that's true. I just read it.
Right.
But if it is, that $7 million seems like an awful great deal when the franchise tag players are only getting 10, and there's currently no market. There will be.
Yeah.
And Cook he's
not washed.
A good enough track record to be able to get signed.
Yeah, and he's not washed. I mean, he slowed down just a little bit, but he's definitely not washed. There's a lot of running backs he's better than. So he'll get signed.
Well, speaking of, we're talking about wide receiver money. DeAndre Hopkins signs a free agent deal with the Titans for 2 years for $26 million. Still one of the top guys, right? You're thinking
top talent, but I don't know that his results lately make him a top guy.
Right.
I think that remains to be seen. That he's a high risk, high reward player. I absolutely understand why the Titans want to do it. I understand why what's his name is going to be at the airport waiting to pick him up with
Mike Vrabel?
Derrick Henry.
Oh,
because literally everybody on the other team, including the water boys in the box against Derrick Henry. And we don't know at this point what Hopkins will be, but we know that he can take the lid off, because you're certainly not going to have safeties up in the middle with Hopkins on the outside, right? You've got to back them off. So that's even if he doesn't have a 1,000-yard, 1,300-yard, even if he's not awesome, at least for this season, as long as he's healthy, they're going to have to make sure that they account for him, and that's going to be a huge help to Derrick Henry. So it makes a lot of sense.
I bet if he get 1,000 yards, 1,050 yards, and 95 catches, he gets another $6 million. So I bet he does it.
But here's one last thing before you go. There's one reality though. Tennessee's going to suck no matter what. And so,
here's Coop.
I don't think anybody is worried about the Tennessee Titans actually becoming a very good team and ready for playoffs.
Yeah.
But Hopkins got his money. Henry got his safety net for both his health and his, because you get a whole bunch of guys in the box, you're going to get hurt.
And whoever their quarterback is.
That's my issue right there with this team, because it's an indictment. To me, I saw this as an indictment against the Patriots, because the Patriots offered him a contract too. He went to the Titans. That New England has a better offensive line. I don't know about Mac Jones as quarterback. Of course, they have a better defense, and they have Bill Belichick, a 6-time Super Bowl winning coach. To go to a team with Tennessee doesn't have a good offensive line. They don't know who their quarterback is going to be by Halloween. They don't have no idea. It could be Will Levis, it could be Malik Willis, it could be Ryan Tannehill, it could be Steve McNair. No, I'm sorry, not him. Well, it could be Warren, it could be anybody. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know what their quarterback's going to be. And he chose to go to that team. So when you mentioned Glenn 95 catches and 1,100 yards, I don't see that happening. I think he went strictly for the money.
I actually think that I think he can have a better stat line in Tennessee than he could in New England. Yeah. Because there's no one else. There's no other game in town.
Okay.
But most importantly, Hopkins realized that he didn't have a pursuer who could pay him reasonable amount of money and get him a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
He had no market. Right.
Yeah. There was no market for that position. And so once you eliminate, if I'm not going to get the Super Bowl or have a chance at it, I'm going to go take the money.
Get the bread. Yep.
Yeah. And Tennessee paid more than New England. It's simple math at that point. Bill ain't paying any real money.
Right. And I don't even know who Tennessee's offense coordinator is. I mean, Bill O'Brien has a proven track record as an offensive coach because he had a good season under Bill. Now he's a bad GM, but he had really good seasons under Bill O'Brien. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't think it's about winning. I think it's about getting paid. Good for him. If that's what he wanted, that's fine.
Because neither of those teams have a snowball. Both of them have a snowball's chance in hell of making the playoffs or being any kind of threat for a Super Bowl. Well, now, if you're going to take a cut, you're going to take that cut to go to play with Patrick Mahomes. You're going to take that cut to play with Josh Allen. I still think that it would have been a good pickup for Baltimore, but minus those types of options, get paid. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of running backs out there right now who would take your deal in a damn heartbeat.
They're not real talk. What about as we go into the camps, man? Is there anything you guys are looking forward to? I know camps are I think rookies are reporting this week.
Yeah. I think the 49 rookies report today.
You know, there's always buzz. There's always this good people. I actually study. I don't watch camp film and all that other kind of stuff, but I study the beat reporters who are assigned to the camps, and there's always somebody that you can pick out of the buzz, and you know who to trust on that, and find that diamond in the rough for fantasy football and things of that nature. So I always look forward to kind of starting to sniff around and see what's going on. And I found Chris Johnson that way. I found Antonio Gates that way. Yeah. Years and years and years ago, I found. MJD was just undervalued. There was a little bit of buzz around him that people knew, but he was just undervalued. So it's kind of fun to kind of start figuring out who that guy is. It may or may not be. I took a pass on Kyle Pitts, even though the buzz was all over him.
He doesn't play, but yeah. So it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, you could tell early on that people were like, "Oh, he's so fast, great hands," but no one was talking about him. They were talking about what they think he might be able to do, and that I was like, all right, I'll pass. Well, and people were drafting him crazy.
Well, I'm with you on that because that's how I found Cooper Kupp. That's how extent I found Mahomes, and I found T.Y. Hilton. So I'm with you on that. But the thing is, the day after the Super Bowl until the day before the first regular season game starts, I don't believe anything because it's optimism. It's optimism time. Everybody is going to be 0-0. Everybody's going to be good. I remember we were talking about last year how Justin Fields looked great passing the ball, and he couldn't pass last year during games. That's why he ran, for 1,100 yards.
And yet he is considered a top target for fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I do see it differently. I do think that you can. I wouldn't say necessarily lock down and win a fantasy football championship right now. You can't do that. But if you strike gold, the guy that they always do this thing at the end of the season, like the percentage shares of each player who's owned and on championship teams, right? And it's never a person drafted in the first or second or third round. Yeah. It's always the person who was undiscovered or whatever. Or sometimes it's a waiver wire pick. By example, Justin Jefferson was that guy a few years ago, right? People were picking him up. I mean, Dredd got him in our league off the free agent wire, but he was so good that he made the impact. You can start figuring out who those guys are now.
Yeah. So I don't really watch guys, I don't even watch preseason. So, but yeah, I'm like Brian. I like to look at these beat writers from certain people over the years, and I kind of trust very few people. Everybody else is just working for the team and trying to pump them up. Yeah, but it's a couple.
I just like it because it means football's close.
That too.
I get to read others. Like right now, I check football news every day for the Raiders, and there's no news. but still, it's just like I have to be involved in it. And now there's actually going to be some news, even if it's just buzz about camp. They can talk about this guy look good, or here's a clip of somebody. Like, football's close, man. We're a few Sundays away from football the rest of the year. You know what I mean? This is last month of the year without football. So
yeah, but you can also certain things, just not to beat this point down before we move on, but let's just say Jordan Love. Like, I don't think Green Bay is going to be any good, and I don't think Jordan Love is an NFL quarterback. And the thing about it is, you never hear anybody talk about a throw he made in practice, what he did in practice, a wow factor. You don't hear any buzz about him. But yet, when Joe Burrow first got drafted, you heard his coach come out and say right away, oh man, he's as good as advertised. Or you always heard about Kelsey talk about Mahomes, or any of these other players on these other teams, like, oh, Jalen Hurts, this dude's first one in, last one out. He's gotten stronger, gotten better. I mean, you hear things. You hear nothing about stuff like Jordan Love or these other
Well,
players.
hearing that with Bryce Young, though.
How Bryce Young? You hearing what?
That hype.
Yeah, I've heard about Bryce Young too.
Yeah.
They just say he's just small as hell, but that guy's putting the ball on the money, should start and stuff like that. So you kind of look at that stuff, like you said, Brian, for fantasy purpose. Like, man, do I really want to draft this guy? Nobody ever says anything about him. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
Depend too. Yeah. Love's also been in the league hella long. Versus, like, they need Bryce to have a little pub. He's a top pick. They need CJ to have a little pub, but Jordan Love's been on the bench for years. So we'll see what happens.
First round pick, gotta play.
Yeah, no doubt.
First round, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had that hype even when Alex Smith was there.
Right. Kelsey always talked about him.
And he
damn, Tennessee was 0-9 against playoff teams last year. Well, damn, I didn't know that.
And they're like 3 years out of the NFC Championship or something. Like, they're not.
No, I'm talking about Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. They're a couple, just a few years ago, they were in the
championship.
Yeah. Right. That's right. That's right.
Championship, yeah. But so sliding out of that, some golf stuff, look forward to next week. I'll be out there playing some nice courses with my brother Brian over here, celebrating some birthdays. So that's cool. And then
you mind to tell your age, Brian, or are you good?
Me? I'm 40. I'm turning 46.
July 20th, he's turning 46.
Yeah.
I just hit 40. So I'm in there with y'all now too. Cool. I mean, come on, since you out here said it.
No, I ain't gotta tell my age.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say. I just know they didn't have driver's licenses when they started driving. No, but so the Open is this week, man. The British Open, played over in Europe, which is going to be pretty dang amazing.
Royal Liverpool.
Point at Royal Liverpool out in England. Major championship, very exciting type stuff. So, B, what are you looking forward to for this one?
I always look forward to this tournament for one reason. One, it always happens on the weekend of my birthday. Two, it's always in the middle of the night. So while having a couple soda pops and some apple juice and shot glasses, I can stay up late and watch some of the golf.
Championship. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Some of the hardest golf, some of the most interesting golf, and it's live. So it's kind of unique. And then during the day, we also have another golf tournament. So there's some of that. But I'm looking forward to seeing if some of these kind of really hot players, the two that come to mind quickly are Ricky and Rory. If they can get over the edge in a major, right? So obviously Ricky and Rory went down to the line in the U.S. Open, didn't work out.
Both just won a tournament though in the last month.
And then both of them have won a tournament. They're both very hot. They're both playing really well. It's Brooks Koepka is always kind of one of those people that you look into because he plays so much better. And there's the other stuff that's going on in the world of golf and along those lines. And then you have, just studs like Jon Rahm. So these rounds are always pretty interesting. It shakes out crazy and quickly in a major, because you may not be able to win a major on a Thursday. You can damn sure lose one. And so it makes every round very, very interesting. Tiger Woods used to say he just wanted to get pars on the first 2 days of majors. He wasn't trying to try and break course records. He was just going out there and get pars. He finished 1 under, great, 2 under, great. But he wasn't trying to go and beat the course on day one. He was going to manage the course on day one. And then, late Friday and Saturday, especially, that's when he was trying to establish himself. So, it is always interesting to see if some of these amazing golfers can manage these courses. The other thing is that majors are always played at different places, and so it's just always a unique experience. Anyone who thinks that they know how this round is going is talking out of their rear ear.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I like that those tee times are late. I was looking at them. First one's at 10:35 p.m. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, there it is. Right,
Europe, right? So you'll be watching. You know, it's cool to be able to watch championship golf kind of all hours. Like we randomly turn it on. We'll just be sitting up on the weekend. You know, like Brian said, kind of chilling around the fire pit, or I might be playing Madden or something, and then boom, we got live championship golf, best golfers in the world.
Like if you're up late, some guys don't tee off till 2:42 a.m. So I mean, you know, it's pretty much all night.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can also go to sleep and wake up early and see the final round, So
it's awesome. Got that, and then so a little bit of golf, and then also kind of citing women's sports. WNBA All-Star game was this past week. Most watched WNBA All-Star game since 2007. You get what's her name? Jewel
Ionescu.
MVP. What's up?
The person we want to talk about is Ionescu.
Oh yeah, Jewel Lloyd gets MVP, right? She was balling. She had the most points in All-Star game at 31. And then you're talking about Sabrina, who was out here she's crazy with the jumper.
Yeah, I mean, the highest score of either a men's or women's 3-point contest ever. And she only missed 2 shots. Had the swag to call out Steph after. And that is one thing where you can compare it. The 3-point lines are basically the same. You know, but anyways, it was just neat to see that happen. Ionescu, she's always been a shooter, but that is just a ridiculous performance that everyone should be able to appreciate, because it's not a dunk contest. It's not. There's no way to adjust for men or women, and you know, there's no rim is the same height. All this other stuff. This is one place where it's an apples to apples comparison, and she did something outstanding. In the moment. That's pretty cool.
She had stroke too. I mean, that form was perfect, and she was just hitting them. And people think stuff like that is easy. Oh, just grab a ball and shoot. No, to be mechanically correct, like people like her, like Curry and other great shooters, it's not easy, because you can easily lapse and your mechanic is off, or your elbow kind of go out, or arm this way or whatever. And she was stroking them. So yeah, I'm with Brian on that one. It's not about being, super athletic. It's just shooting the basketball. 10 feet for everybody, the same distance for everybody, probably 21 feet, probably 6 inches. I'm not sure. But yeah, incredible performance. Got to give her props on that one.
And then the other thing I was going to say that kind of made it interesting, and for anyone who I actually used to try and go to a few of the WNBA games. If you never had a chance, it's probably too late, but go on YouTube and look up Diana Taurasi. I don't care if you are a person who likes sports. Yeah. If you were someone who likes sports, she is incredible to watch. She has all the heart, all the swag, all the ability that anyone who played the sport has had in the WNBA, and did it for a long time too. But don't get to go as often. But if you're into the sport, what the Las Vegas Aces are kind of showing, I mean, they had 40-point games. Like all their all-stars just showed out in that game. It looks a lot like there's going to be a coronation for them. I mean, they've only had 2 losses.
Yeah. They're blowing people out too.
They are just exactly. Yeah. And the other thing, Jason, for people who are into betting, people do not handicap the women's games as well as they should, because they don't feel like there's enough action on there to spend that kind of time. So if you find a team that is pretty good, you can ride them to some pretty significant winnings.
And I am glad you brought that up, because there have been a few games on WNBA that I have posted on Peerless One Sports on Twitter that have been profitable for us. And the Las Vegas Aces, their spreads are high, Brian, 14, 15, 16, 17, and they still win by 25. So, and then 40 points, they be covering them big spreads. And yes, you're right. It's a very good betting opportunity, because the markets, they don't handicap those games very well.
They got 100 people handicapping a football game, and they got 2.
Right, exactly. Right. They just put a number out there. Exactly.
Interesting. I like that. I was gonna real quick, as we mentioned Steph, he won the ACC golf championship too out in Tahoe. Bro was out here playing
incredible.
Yeah, had a hole in one, which is making
won it with an eagle on the 18th hole.
Yeah, eagle putt. Like bro's playing well, so shout out to Steph for that. So WNBA All-Star game. It could be Taurasi's last year. Also, Brittany Griner was in this game too. So good to just see her back. She had a dunk in the game. Was playing out there. It was cool to see.
Diana Taurasi is my favorite women's college player. I was watching her since UConn as a damn freshman. I mean, she was incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. She is mine too, but that is also because I am so young that I never got to take advantage of watching Sarah Miller. But Diana Taurasi has always been an absolute beast.
Yeah,
beast on the basketball.
I've seen some good ones in
W. I had the privilege of sitting. I went to a game and I was sitting to this very loud, rambunctious group of people who were rooting for Diana Taurasi and her team. It turned out it was Diana Taurasi's family. So they were all there and showing up, and it was kind of fun because they never said this is my girl or anything like that. Eventually, I was like, "Y'all are related, right?" And they're like, "Yeah," But she's just always been a great show person when it comes to sports.
Yeah, and there have been some good women's players, but yeah, she's the best. I've seen Lisa Leslie. Sure. She's been really good. I like Cheryl Swoop. She was good, but
did it forever.
Yeah, Diana Taurasi. She's like been on a high level. Yeah, started. Exactly. Yeah, high level. That's hard to do.
Word. Kind of staying in the same vein of women's sports. World Cup, man. This week.
Yeah, the World Cup starts. Obviously, the women are a favorite to win these things. They've always put together a great team. I wish them nothing but the best. I don't know enough about soccer to be able to say much more than I wish them the best. And I will probably watch a little bit more soccer there than I did the last time the World Cup was around.
Yeah, they're afternoon games too. So we play. U.S. plays on the 21st at 6 p.m. So that's Friday.
Yeah, they're in New Zealand and Australia, right? Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with Brian. I wish him the best. I don't really handicap women's soccer. Matter of fact, I didn't even know it was going on until we had this podcast. So thank you for telling me that.
Be on. They
was just watching their last round with a friend, and men's had the CONCACAF Cup, which they just stunk it up. But congratulations to Mexico for winning that.
Word, man. Well, that's our show. Unless you guys have anything else.
Last two.
Yeah, we got our last two segments. That's one of our topics. So starting with Brian, the segment Brian came up when he said something was a bunch of hogwash, and we were like, we like this. This is now a weekly segment. What's hella hogwash to you guys?
Okay, I'll start with mine. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've always said, are the best team of drafting wide receivers. I mean, their record is pretty much impeccable. So if they trade you a wide receiver, you might want to just, do a buyer beware. But Chase Claypool was traded from Pittsburgh wide receiver to the Chicago Bears. And now the Bears have questions about him because they don't think he's really into football. I think what I heard was he was out there in France modeling and going down some runways and stuff like that, and don't think he's really into football. So no, he can't model. He needs to be working on his football game and his connection with Justin Fields. So
footwork, man.
So
he's been watching Zoolander, and he's got to be able to make the double left turn.
so yeah, my hogwash is trying to sell me on Chase Claypool being a weapon for Justin Fields, because I don't see it. That's hogwash to me.
That hurt me because we got Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant from the boys, and you know how that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hogwash is actually about the ACC championship on the 18th hole. The person who was leading, I'm forgetting his name. Sorry, blanking on his name. But anyways, he goes up to the tee box, and all he has to do is it's a reachable par 5. All he has to do is really birdie, and someone times a crazy yell right as he's in his downswing. These are not professional golfers. He did what all of us would do. He shanked it off dead right. Steph was pissed off about it because no one wanted for him to win that way. Nobody wanted that to be the way the story shook out. But he had to recover, and he had to go, over, and he did a great job. I think he made his par, but it was just a complete hogwash for a fan to try to impact an ACC, a fun celebrity tournament, with some silliness like that. They did identify the person. They did get kicked out. I'm sure he was a Steph fan. But it's a bunch of hogwash. That such a fun tournament. Now, as chance would have it, and I think most people would agree with this, Steph made a eagle putt, which probably would have won it. But had the other gentleman made a birdie, they would have tied and probably gone into extra. But
you want it to be
Marty Fish is his name, who was a complete class act about all of this. But it's a bunch of hogwash that a stupid ass fan decided to go and yell during his downswing and mess things up.
Them Curry fans,
right? You want it to be competitive, man. That's whack.
Right?
Wasn't Marty Fish the name of the dude in Ozarks? Marty Bird. All right.
Marty Bird.
Who was one of those?
Marty Fish.
Say Pittsburgh. Okay.
Marty Fish was a tennis player, professional tennis player.
Mine is I'm gonna go back to the running backs, man. They can't get paid. That's kind of ice cold. I know we're saying I was devalued, but they have been important parts of these teams. The Eagles got to where they were off the back of running backs, including their quarterback running. Josh Jacobs was the only reason we won a bunch of them games last year. Also, as a Madden player, I'm hoping he signs so I can keep him on the roster this year. But man, pay these dudes or let them go is my thing. Like the franchise tag is kind of bogus in that term. Pay them or let them go. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes. It's kind of hogwash to me. As far as our minute to win it, I get my chance to kind of shoot one back at you, Brian. Happy birthday, man. Best big brother could have had. And everybody who knows this is my god brother, but anyone ever asked, it's my brother. I was just sending him a picture earlier of us at Disneyland as kids, because we don't do that as adults like that. But shout out to B, man. He's been the best, a great example, man. Someone I've always looked up to and always enjoyed being around, and looking forward to playing some golf with you, man. So happy birthday, and here's to 50 more.
Man, I'm going that same route, man. Brian, great cousin, man. Ever since we was drinking Captain Morgan together when we first got together, way back when, man. Always been hospitable every time we come through, man. And I just appreciate you, my brother. So happy birthday, no doubt. No doubt.
Thank you both. Thank you both. I appreciate it. And those are some of my favorite times too. Mine is obviously, as per usual, is a little more serious. For anyone who's trying to figure out if there's ever any current signs of global warming, right? You have Canada that's on fire to the point where the smoke is impacting Chicago, Minnesota, so on and so forth. The state of Vermont is flooded to the point where people have close to 8 feet of water in their houses.
Insane.
And it's the entire state, because it's not a big state, is underwater. The Taj Mahal is going through flood right now because India is dealing with such a deluge of rain. Florida has temperatures that are extraordinarily hot, so completely hotter than they've ever had it, over 100. Hopefully they're melting Donald Trump right now. But at some point in time, something's really weird. Has anyone ever thought about how much water there is in the ocean? And they are recording temperatures in the ocean around Florida of 100 degrees.
Damn.
That's what I heat my jacuzzi and pools to. And there are much smaller bodies of water. I mean, usually if someone told you that a large body of water has gotten to 100 degrees, you'd tell them to look for the fissure and where the lava is coming up from the end of the earth. But there are some really extreme. Our buddy Dredd, who's in Atlanta, sent us a thing where it was a week filled with days over 100, from like 103 to like 108, I think it was, and pouring rain on multiple days.
In Georgia?
And that was in Atlanta, or greater Atlanta area. The up and down the East Coast, it has been pouring rain for days at a time. This is not normal, and it's certainly not normal all at the same time. Yeah. And these are the kind of things that we're going to have to understand, take the message, and do our part But this is the world of global warming, because global warming does not, as anyone, it does not mean that only temperatures only get hotter. It means that things get colder. It means that, that you get more erratic weather patterns and events. And that is exactly what we're seeing. There was a tornado in Chicago right next to the airport recently. There was tornadoes all through, different places where they haven't previously been a big deal. Take a look, but heed the message, heed the warning, at least be aware that this is a real thing. And this is what we're going to be dealing with for probably the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
That's serious. Word.
Yep.
Well, y'all heard the message. Pay attention. It's July 18th, 2023. Thank you. Happy birthday, B. Sports Counterpoints. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you.